Good afternoon everyone, and welcome to all of you to our debate of today on diversity in tech. It's taking place on the occasion of the Girls in ICT Day, which is established by the UN to highlight the need to promote technology career opportunities for girls and women in the world's fastest growing sector. Today's debate is hosted by the EIF Steering Committee member Maria Carvalho, MEP, a leading voice in the European Parliament with the EPP group from Portugal, and a member of the ITRE Committee, the Committee on Women's Rights and Gender Equality, and of the Special Committee on Artificial Intelligence in a Digital Age. Welcome, thank you very much for taking the lead on this debate at our forum. Today we are also joined by five experts to discuss the right conditions that can foster more diversity and more inclusion in the workplace, in education, and across society. Let's give them all a warm welcome, starting with Monika Ladmanova, who's advisor to the Vice President Vera Jourova at the European Commission, Angelique de Vries, Executive Vice President and CEO Northern Europe at Salesforce, Belinda Exelby, Chair of Equals Steering Committee and Head of International Relations at the GSMA, Mechtild Walser-Ertel, Global Head of Human Resources and Corporate Social Responsibility at Orange Business Services, and last but not least, Petra Kotuliakova, member of CEPIS Diversity Team. A beautiful women-only panel, exceptionally today. So thank you all very much for joining us. After listening to your presentations, there will be time for an exchange with participants in the Q&A session. But now it's your time. I'll leave the floor to our hosting MEP, Maria da Graça Carvalho. Over to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Maria Rosa, and I would like to start thanking EIF for organizing this important event, and I would like to welcome all our guests, our speakers, and also to welcome everyone that is following us online. I would like to say that the current subject of this debate is very dear to my heart. The diversity in technology, the diversity in ICT, the diversity in science. And I have followed this principle all over my entire professional life, since a professor from mechanical engineer and a politician. I always follow the principle that diversity brings excellence, diversity brings innovation. Actually, just a curiosity, when I was a professor and a full-time professor, and with a research group, I had a research group of 15 people, PhD students and postgraduates, and I had 13 different nationalities out of the 15. So you can see how I praise diversity, and I had good results in my research team. So, and actually this is a case, but there is evidence, scientific evidence, that diverse teams leads to greater creativity and greater success. In addition, I would like to say that diversity is not only a question of diversity in gender, is also diversity in age, diversity in backgrounds, geographical origins, skills, experiences. So to have engineers with artists, with more fundamental scientists, is out of this mix of different backgrounds that usually the bright ideas can, the best ideas come out. So the most classical example, and as a politician that I have been confronted with recently, is in the field of AI. and the fact that in AI we need to be especially attentive to this question of diversity, because if we are not specially attentive to this, the AI algorithms based on database that are not created with the diversity principle in mind can reproduce stereotypes and continues to be biased, and we don't want that. So there is a need to have even more in this digital world and in the AI world, to have diverse teams, to have databases that are built in a way that they represent our society. So to collect more accurate and sex disaggregate data and apply modern machine learning debiasing techniques is a very important topic. But I would like to say that also this can be achieved if when we constitute our teams in our enterprise, in the universities, in the political world, we keep in mind that our teams should be diverse. And that helps a lot to solve these questions. And today we are celebrating, as you have said, Maria Rosa, the International Girls ICT Day. So out of all these questions of diversity, I would like to stress the gender diversity in ICT, because it's not easy to have gender diversity in ICT because we don't have enough women in ICT, and we need to solve this question. Realizing that, I have proposed last year to have an initiative report in the FAM committee, and my colleagues have accepted, and this report was done and was voted already in plenary in January, and has been very well accepted by the stakeholders and inside the parliament. My proposal for this initiative report is based on the fact that we have very low percentage of women as ICT professionals, and if we look at the students, we also have a low number, an even lower number than professionals, what means that we are not increasing the situation is not improving, on the contrary. So we need to have actions to attract more women for ICT. And in this report, I have first analyzed the data. Second, I tried to analyze the causes, and we have mainly two causes. The first is that women do not choose the ICT studies as much as the men do. And the second, even the ones that choose this area, they end up to abandon this area more than they abandon other areas. So the phenomenon of the leaky pipeline is more prominent in the ICT than in the other areas of the technology and engineer. So we try to analyze all these causes, and in the last part, the most important part of the report, we have recommendations how to address these problems. Recommendations for the Commission in terms of funding, or in terms of analyzing proposals and taking the gender diversity in the teams that propose the project, in the gender of the team leader, to consider this as a positive element for the evaluation. But also recommendations for the training programs that the Commission is financing, that there is specific training for ICT for girls and for women, and the Commission is already doing that, and I want to congratulate the Commission for that. For example, in the EIT, there is a big program for training girls in ICT done by the EIT KIC, the digital KIC. But this is an example that is already many actions promoting ICT for women, and this is one of our recommendations. But we also have recommendations from member states in terms of education to attract very young girls to create the taste that they like ICT areas. So in the education, on the employment, also that the companies promote the women and the careers in ICT for women and for the society in general. There is a big role to play in the society to show role models, for example, in the social media, in television, so that role models are shown in the news, in the real models, but also in the fiction. We know that this has a lot of influence on young girls to choose their careers. Sometimes they follow stereotypes that they see in series, in TV series, and so we really need to promote engineers, technical women that works in ICT. Unfortunately, in real life, we have already many of these women that as we can see today in this panel, and we have to promote and to make them visible so that more young girls choose this to study and to have their careers in this area. This is a question of fairness for women, because the best remunerated jobs in the future will be in this area, but it's also a question of contributing for the competitiveness and the well-being of Europe. We need more skilled people in this area, and we cannot afford not to take into consideration this huge talent that is the percentage of women in our society. The ICT field cannot afford not to take that in consideration. So we really, for the competitiveness of Europe, we really need to have more women on ICT. So that is very important, and events like these are also important to draw the attention of ICT is a woman career and is a human business, and we should, and girls should like ICT and should consider that as a viable career and an area that they should study and like. So thank you very much, and I hope that a lot of young girls will have access to our message and choose in the future these areas to study and to work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, we will share the message. Thank you also for sharing your personal experience, which was very interesting. We can really say that you do lead by example. And congratulations on your work, on your report. You have mentioned the work of the European Commission as well, and it is my pleasure to welcome Monika Ladmanova, advisor to the Vice President Vera Jourova, European Commission.
Thank you, Maria, and thank you also, Madam Member of Parliament, for your encouraging words. I can just join you in confirming that there is a strong commitment of the Commission to diversity and especially to gender equality, because it's a core value of the European Union, and it's also among the priorities of Madame von der Leyen, the President of the Commission, and this is also why she appointed the first ever Commissioner for Equality, and this is also why we have a first ever gender balanced College of Commissioner. And here allow me to say that it didn't happen just like that, but it was a true effort by Madame von der Leyen to have really nominations from the member states which are gender balanced. So I will come back to that, because I consider this special effort as one of the most important recommendations for achieving diversity and equality. And you know that the diversity, it's also including it among the commitments in the treaties regarding the equality and non-discrimination. So there are many legislative instruments which are promoting equality and non-discrimination. I won't name all of them, but I would just like to mention two, the most recent one. And the one of them is the Directive on Work-Life Balance of Working Parents and Carers, which established minimum standards for different types of leaves, be it parental or paternal or carers leave. It also established standards for remuneration for these leaves and also for working time arrangements. This was because surveys proved that more equal sharing of care would reduce workplace gender inequality. So, in other words, this has been one of the contributions to promote diversity and to also somehow tackle the existing segregation of the labor market, be it the horizontal segregation or the vertical segregation, where we have a type of genders grouped in, or the tendency to be grouped in a special types of sectors, and also in special types of the hierarchy when it comes to the organizational structure. This directive I've mentioned was already adopted, finalized, and now it is up to member states to transpose it into the national legal frameworks. The other legal instruments, which is most recent, is the proposal of the Commission to strengthen the application of the principle of equal pay for equal work and the work of equal value between men and women through pay transparency and enforcement mechanism. And this has been the directive again, and this directive is the reaction to the persistent gender pay gap in Europe. Again, there are different routes for this inequality, for the pay inequality, but of course it also supports the non-diversity when it comes to the gender. So we hope that this draft or this proposal will be swiftly adopted by the co-legislators, and then it will also contribute to reach the full potential of, in this case, women, but could be that at some time, in some period, it can be the men, in other words, to contribute to achieve the equality. But the legislation alone is not enough when it comes to promoting diversity. And Commission is also strengthening the soft law and also the non-legislative instruments and different policy initiatives, be it funding. It was already mentioned by the speaker, but what I would like to mention here as a special tool, which I think we can be proud of what the Commission is doing, and this is working closely with the companies and organizations, also from public sector, fostering diversity through the EU platform of diversity charters. And I'm sure that many of the companies which are joining us today in the audience are members of these platforms, but let me just recall what it is. It is a voluntary commitment of the organization, be it public or private or non-profit or academic, to actively implement measures which are promoting diversity and equal opportunities in the workplace. And it can be regardless of the race or ethnic origin or gender or sexual orientation, age, disability, or religion. The European platform of diversity charters consists of 26 charters, and these are divided nationally. So in other words, in 26 member states, there are these groups of companies which counts for millions of employees by today. Of those companies and organizations who made this voluntary commitment. And we are encouraging more companies to join, and we are encouraging also to share the best practices and to bring the diversity to another level in the organization, if I may put it in these words. Again, I won't repeat what was already said regarding the benefits of diversity and regarding many studies which shown that having diversity, be it at the leadership or in another level of the organizations or company structures, has already proven evident, and there is already an evidence and experience what it means for the organization, what profit it could bring also in terms of money, what profit it could bring not only to employees, to employers, to the entire society, to the markets, etc. So I won't repeat myself, but what I would like to then discuss further, it's, we need to know how to measure the benefits of diversity to make a strong business case. So how to do it correctly, I mean, we can discuss how to include minorities effectively and how to adapt the organization structure, how to make sure that the diversity really drives innovation, how to communicate it properly. I mean, all these pertinent questions. But if I would just pick two recommendations, if I would be asked to pick two recommendations, what I think is of utmost importance, what I've seen when I worked for 8 years in one of the tech giants before I joined Vice President Jourova in her team, that diversity is not possible without the commitment from the top. In other words, the commitment from the leadership is not optional, it's just a must. And the other recommendation or suggestion is that the diversity and inclusion, it of course needs to be the focus at the senior level, but it also needs to be included into the company's business or purpose strategy. It can be just simple HR policy or HR strategy, because then it's lost in translation. So there might be many other recommendations which we might discuss today. I look forward to do so, and thank you for the invitation to the organizers.
Thank you very much for this comprehensive overview of all the important efforts that the European Commission is doing toward diversity and gender equality. More specifically, it was very interesting, and we can take it as a call to action for all the companies that are connecting with us today to join the platform you have mentioned. So, but speaking of the companies, and more specifically tech companies, we have quite a few with us today, and now I'd like to hand over the floor to Angelique de Vries with Salesforce.
Yeah, thank you so much, and good afternoon. And it's a real pleasure to be here in this call with so many great ladies and sharing this insight. And for me as well, the topic is very close to my heart, and also to my company's DNA. So equality and inclusion is one of our 4 core values at Salesforce. And we are highly committed to working towards our vision of a workplace that reflects society, where everybody feels seen, heard, valued, empowered to succeed. And I personally did a technical study myself, and I've been working now in the technology sector for more than 25 years. And as it's already was mentioned, I've seen firsthand myself as well how diversity and inclusion can make businesses more productive, more successful, and lead to more successful businesses. And also have Salesforce, we surveyed more than 1,500 business professionals and found that 80% believe that companies have a responsibility to go beyond profit and make an impact to society. And it was already referred to many statistics and analysis, like, for example, also McKinsey study showed that with a gender diverse group, you have 21% more success. And with an ethnical diverse company, even 33% more likely to outperform others. So very clear statistics. And at Salesforce, we recognize this value of the diverse workforce. And we have a very comprehensive equality program in place. And it was already referred, it starts at the top. So at Salesforce, we have an Office of Equality focused on that. We have named Tony Profit as our Chief Equality and Recruiting Officer. So it starts with recruiting and every step and every phase following that. We also have more than 12 employee resourced groups. We call them equality groups. These are employee-led organizations which are supporting underrepresented communities. All our employees receive 56 hours per year to volunteer. And the time they spend leading this important work counts to these hours. So we encourage everyone in our company to share, build empathy, learn, and stand up for each other. And as a result, we see that 1 out of the 2 employees join one or more equality groups. And just to name a few, so for example, we have the Salesforce Women Network, that is the largest group in EMEA. And a lot of company-wide programs have been born via this network, including, for example, women aiming for higher initiatives. Also, Ability Force, that unites people with visible and invisible disabilities, and give people with different abilities more opportunities to employment at Salesforce. We also focus on growing diverse talents and the leaders for the future in our industry. So for a couple of examples, in Salesforce EMEA, we are committed to bring young, diverse talent into our organization or ecosystem from underrepresented communities. For example, in the Netherlands, we work very closely with tech grounds to do that. We also helping employees to return to work. We want to make it easier for women, moms, but also dads to return to the workplace after taking a career place. And I have to say, inclusion is a real integral part in everything we do. But even if a room is vastly diverse, if these unique perspectives aren't being heard, and if those people do not feel a sense of belonging, then the impact will be lost. So one of the things we also did is this year, we launched an all managers training that includes bias awareness and new processes to help ensure a promotion process in a fair, consistent and accessible way. And we are very much committed to equal pay for equal work. So we do regular paid audits across the entire organization. And to date, we have spent more than $16.2 million to adjust salaries for our employees globally. So I'm really convinced, as it was already mentioned, that most innovative companies of the future will understand both in the society, but also the business value of equality, to maximize the potential of every employee and understand the unique needs also of their customers. So the European Union, driven by its values of human dignity and human rights, freedom, democracy, and equality, is a global leader in diversity and inclusion. And we are very proud to stand ready to work together to advance this diversity and inclusion in our sector and in the society as a whole. So thank you for this invitation, and I'm really looking forward to team up with all of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing the examples and the best practices from a company and tech company perspective. And I believe there are already some points in common that have resonated listening to all the presentations until now, and diversity as a core value to start with, but also as a responsibility at the top. So let's continue our conversation, bringing in our next speakers. I'll hand over the floor to Belinda Exelby with the GSMA.
Thank you very much, Maria, Rosa, and good afternoon to everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here today. I'm representing both the GSMA and the Equals Global Partnership for Digital Gender Equality, which, as you may be aware, is the largest international platform that brings together the public and private sectors to bridge the digital gender divide. And as others have mentioned, I'm obviously particularly pleased to be taking part in the discussions on International Girls in ICT Day, which I understand today is the 10th anniversary of that initiative, which is very encouraging. For GSMA and for Equals, the topic of gender-based diversity in tech forms a key pillar of all our work to promote and advance digital gender equality. So as a co-founder of Equals, GSMA has always had a strong commitment to driving change on behalf of the mobile industry and striving for the full realization of women and girls as equals in the digital economy. In 2016, we led the mobile industry to become the first sector to commit to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, including SDG 5 on gender equality. And we solidified that commitment further in 2019 when we signed the UN Women Empowerment Principles. These outline the business case for corporate action to promote gender equality and women's empowerment. So the mobile industry realizes the economic and social benefits that increasing female leadership and representation in ICT industries can deliver, and many mobile operators are already taking decisive action to level the playing field. However, as we have already discussed, many challenges remain before we can fully realize this goal, and there's some recent really stark statistics which put into perspective just how far we have to go. For example, the recent 2020 State of Women in Tech and Startups survey, which is carried out by Women Who Tech, found that 70% of women working in tech feel they've been treated differently at work owing to their gender, while only 11% of men feel this way. Among leadership positions in the ICT industry, only 24% are held by women. And according to data from the World Economic Forum, less than a third of female students choose to study higher education courses in subjects like maths and engineering, which of course results in women being underrepresented in STEM fields in general. And turning our attention to Europe specifically, according to 2019 data released by the Commission, while women account for more than half of the European population, only around 17% of the ICT specialists are women. Other striking stats include that women working in ICT earn almost 20% less than men. Only 19% of European ICT entrepreneurs are women, and 93% of capital invested in European companies in 2019 went to all male founding teams. So in the Me Too era, such statistics speak to the growing need for really bold and decisive action to bridge the digital gender divide in tech. That's precisely why last year GSMA and Equals, in partnership with Ernst & Young, Oslo Metropolitan University, UC Berkeley, and the Universities of Pennsylvania and Washington, undertook the task of quantifying the differences between men's and women's perceptions of leadership attributes and behaviors in the mobile and tech industries. Our study also considered how the gender gap in leadership is affected by perceptions of power. Some of the most notable conclusions from the report were that women identify as transformational leaders to a much greater extent than men. They also perceive themselves as concerned with others' abilities and others' desires to succeed to a much greater extent than men. And women often perceive themselves as exhibiting more effective leadership traits than men, which can only serve to advance a business strategy or vision, as we've already discussed. The study recommends that we need to acknowledge the different range of transformational leadership styles. We need to provide incentives to female leaders so they can develop effective leadership skills. We need to invest more in mentorship and training programs. And we need to increase research into and spread awareness of the factors that really affect leadership equity and fairness. So what does all this mean? It means that driving change cannot be just about fulfilling quotas. We need to ensure that women are truly in positions of power, so we can not only attract, but also retain female talent at the top in the sector. This is why GSMA and Equals have also recently embarked on a 3-year project funded by the EU Horizon 2020 programme, which looks to build gender equity in social innovation and entrepreneurship. Specifically, the project aims to raise awareness of the gender gap in innovation, involve young people in the innovation ecosystem, increase the number of female innovators in Europe, and contribute to wider EU objectives by better matching skills to jobs. To conclude, I'd like to make a final point that the gender-digital divide is of great concern to the private sector, both as members of the global community and, of course, for the negative effect it has on potential revenues and business success, as others have mentioned. Companies are well suited to apply creativity, innovation, and resources to deploy connectivity solutions and services on the global scale to help bridge the digital gender gap. As an example from the mobile sector, through the GSMA's Connected Women Commitment Initiative, mobile operators are rising to the challenge to address the mobile gender gap. Since 2016, 40 operators have made formal commitments to accelerate digital and financial inclusion for women across Africa, Asia, and Latin America. And so far, they have reached over 39 million additional women with mobile internet and mobile money services. This just goes to show the power of working together to ensure that women are not left behind. Remember, when women thrive, societies, businesses, and economies thrive. Thank you very much, and I look forward to our continued discussions.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Very, very interesting. And you have also shared statistics that I must say speak for themselves. As it was mentioned earlier, we need to find a way also to measure diversity and inclusion and create business cases. So let's continue the conversation with the next speaker, Mechtild Walser-Ertel with Orange Business Services. Over to you, Mechtild.
And thank you very much for also giving me and giving Orange the opportunity to be present today. So let's say diversity is essential for innovation, or rather diversity is one of the main resources of innovation, and it jolts us into cognitive action in ways that homogeneity simply does not. So because diversity enables this non-linear and the novel thinking, and we heard everybody talk about it already, and the adaptability that innovation requires, those teams that are characterized by diversity in nationality, in gender, in age, in their beliefs, in their educational backgrounds, they have the capability also to access much broader networks of relationships, of capital, of competence, and they bring those assets into the innovation process. And in fact, at Orange, diversity and innovation are two main commitments made within the strategic plan that is called Engage 2025. About 140,000 employees across the world are actually clear around those ambitions and commitments. So maybe give me the time to explain some of the key components to diversity in connection with innovation. So the first of them is that we are committed to promote all forms of diversity throughout our operations. So we firmly believe, and we know it from the statistics as well, that healthy company performance really relies upon our ability to build more diverse teams. And it enriches the organization by building the foundation for collective intelligence and also diverse feedback that delivers this creativity and innovation and also disruptive thinking. More importantly for us as well, we co-innovate with our customers and therefore reap those benefits of the global digital innovation. For example, very relevant right now, we helped a major pharmaceutical company to pilot the use of computer vision and data analytics to automate a previously manual process of inspecting vaccine samples. And we combined our skills from various regions and functions with those in the customer's ecosystem and facilitated an essential innovation for speed and quality, even more relevant today. But one of the main challenges for our sector is to have access to a pool of talent that brings together those diverse profiles in the broadest sense of the term. And therefore at Orange, we have always been committed to promote increased diversity with also a strong commitment to fight against all forms of discrimination. The second part is, I would quickly like to talk about the commitment to a responsible and trusted innovation model. And it was mentioned in the beginning, mainly in the connection with AI. I mean, we are in a globalized ecosystem where we are witnessing an explosion of data. Solutions based on artificial intelligence are becoming the norm, and our customers ask us to support them in those areas. And above all, the feedback we get is that they work with us because they trust us. And based on our diverse teams and also the views, we offer them the innovative solutions to transform the customer experience with their own clients, whether it's chatbots or data mining or their own business processes or the protection of their information systems with our cybersecurity. We implement responsible data management and governance. And in concrete terms, the technologies we manage at Orange Business Services can transform our daily lives, and the powers of AI and data and cloud are sources of innovation in so many different fields. So we believe at Orange that this revolution must be responsible and respectful and useful to society and the planet. And this is based on technologies that are human inside. And this is why we are committed to limiting and controlling the risks that are associated with AI, for example, by paying a particular attention to data governance, setting the best parameters for algorithms to limit bias or errors, or also by implementing self-improvement processes. And the third one is that we are creating a favorable workplace environment that empowers those teams and creates the innovation through this diverse collective intelligence. And we have empowered at Orange our employees to develop their skills by building a very strong learning culture, but also a learning mindset. And this includes adopting new ways of working. So we also see diversity as the new ways of working, applying design thinking, agility, new management methods, and using digital and collaboration tools that can be a driver for innovation. Because very often they facilitate the expression of different points of views, and they also build collective intelligence. What we learned during the recent crisis was that tools used for virtual collaboration sometimes delivered improved innovation, as everybody is allowed to speak and contribute, and all ideas have the same value or are given the same chance to be heard. So that's the environment that we create. But finally, if I may focus on the specific challenges of gender equality and innovation, I'm the head of HR and CSR, as was mentioned before, for the B2B division of Orange, called Orange Business Services. And I'm pleased to report that we have almost 40% of women in our executive team. And the head of the function that governs IT, as well as the head of innovation, as well as the leader of our Innovation Center of Excellence in Egypt, are all female. Starting from the top, the theme was mentioned. And I like to link back to what was said earlier. Trust is most essential for creating business innovations. And we're convinced that getting more women into digital and AI professions is a major priority to increase trust. Women don't, however, only need to be skilled in tech roles and learn coding and go into STEM university courses. I think they also have a clear mission to give purpose to the use of the technology and how it will improve the innovation in the world for everyone. So I hope you allow me the time to give some examples of our efforts. We have those employee engagement groups as well. So we have a group of women in sales and pre-sales in Europe, where traditionally you have more males, and they exchange regularly about their progress and about their challenges. And we have an organization called Business and Decisions. That's one of our subsidiaries that consults clients on data. And it recruits almost 40% of women from their own data school, École de la Data, which contributes to the development also of more inclusive AI. And just today, if I may mention the final one, for the girls in ICT, I was informed about 2 initiatives in our large organizations at Orange in Spain and Orange Poland, where we actively foster traineeships and promote the picture of Orange as a great company for female talent. So diversity is key in the sector. And as was said before, and I don't repeat all the numbers anymore, we are still far from gender equality. And I think we are also seeing a disturbing trend in Europe, where we see declining numbers in women pursuing their education in STEM. So that really for us emphasizes the need to encourage young women to explore options in those areas. And we would really need compelling EU-wide programs that are targeted towards the female students to raise their awareness what kind of exciting career opportunities would exist, and inspire those girls from a quite young age. At the same time, I think we would also benefit from the EU's engagement to help women who missed out on digital education to consider retraining, for instance. So in summary, I think for successful innovation, you've heard me say that we need to create the right conditions where trust also between team members is a reality. And we know that those cultural and diverse dynamics are different from one country or one sector to another. It fully depends on us as humans to work with open mindsets. And it is important to remember that innovation is never a sterile process as such, because it must always rely on technology, which is human inside. So I'm sure that governments and industry can work together to co-construct, improve, and innovate on those topics of diversity for everyone in a spirit of respect and trust. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much for your presentation on diversity in the context of talents and innovation, and also for closing on a very positive note and sharing some encouraging figures. That was really good to hear. Now the floor will go to Petra Kotuliakova, a member of CEPIS diversity team.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really happy to be here today. So let me introduce very briefly. I'm the member of the CEPIS diversity team, but also I'm the leader and the founder of organization in Slovakia, ITVIT, who is working with young girls and ladies in the field of empowerment, education, and motivation. So for me, this topic of diversity in tech, it's quite, I can say, the daily job, because we are dealing with girls from 8 years old, and we know how difficult is to work with them until they arrive to the business and until they can be accepted by companies. For me, technology is the most equitable and fair sector in our economies. I think this is quite important, being fair and equitable. It provides everyone the opportunities to their professional and personal growth, to earn money. This is important also for women, and also to develop their work-life balance. So in this context, I don't understand why is no more women inside. One of the reasons of this lack of missing the women in ICT, the lack of diversity in our working teams, lack of support for women, and not only on the hiring level, but especially on the retention level in our companies. If they don't feel welcome in the companies, they will leave very shortly. The important thing is to understand how diversity is a painful procedure. Not everyone in our companies is ready to accept women, to accept young women, to accept older people, people from different cultures, to be part of their team. So what is important, and I would like really to underline that diversity hurts, but we need it. To attract more women and girls into technologies, company need to invest more money and energy to start this procedure. So building diversity, building diverse team really costs money. But on the other side, it brings us a lot of benefits, and everyone knows how huge and big those benefits can be. Working as a member of a diversity team in CEPIS, and also working in ITVIT for quite a long time, I've passed hours and hours by discussing with governmental bodies, institutions, schools, girls and ladies. And I could see two main points I would like to mention here concerning the support of women in STEM and diversity in tech. The first point, quite important, is the dominance of women in these discussions. A lot of panels is composed only from female participants, as we are today also here. The female participation in these panels can suggest and can signify that this is only the female topic, but it is not. We need more men discussing about diversity, because as Mrs. Ladmanova mentioned, we need the commitment from leadership, and often the leadership is composed from men. So we need to have more men to do the advocacy for having more women in ICT. So the dominance of women in the discussions about the diversity, I think, can be one of the points which are not very positive for us. And the second point is the dominance of talks and discussions. You can see that we are still discussing, we are presenting reports, so we are doing a lot of statistic analysis, we are preparing a lot of action plans, but the results are still not going better. We still have in Europe about 17% of women in ICT, and this number didn't change in last year. So we have still the small percentage of women, even if we are discussing and speaking a lot. Why is this so? I think we spend more time by discussing as by doing, because talking is cheap. Action costs money. So for being more positive, in the CEPIS we have developed the diversity charter. Mrs. Ladmanova mentioned different diversity charters, but I would like to highlight the diversity charter for women in technology and women in STEM fields. The charter run by CEPIS is based on 3 different levels, starting with the bronze level, going to silver and gold. Each of this level will guide companies and associations how they can develop the programs and activities to attract and retain more girls and women in ICT. Also, it will give you some guidance and support tools for starting this program and also creating a network and being a part of the network, which can be very helpful for you. And the final point for us is really to have the rising number of women working in STEM fields and working in technology, because diversity in technology is something we need for the next generation, not just for us. And I would like to invite you to check the diversity charter and use this tool for starting doing the first steps. And I hope that the companies and people looking at this stream will check the page and really will use it as a tool which can be very helpful for them. So thank you. And I think for us, it's quite important to be aware of the thing that diversity is important. We need it, even it's really painful and it hurts. So thank you. I'm really brief, but I hope that you can understand it well.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your remarks and for the very clear messages that you have shared. So more action, less talking is one of them. Thank you. Now, I thank all the speakers for their presentations. But before we move to the Q&A session to continue the conversation with them, I would like to bring in our first respondent, Eke Vermeer, Vice President of Public Policy at Liberty Global. Over to you for your reaction to the presentations we have listened to.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eke Vermeer, work for Liberty Global, and thank you very much for having me as a first respondent to this inspiring women on the panel. Short introduction about Liberty Global. Liberty Global is one of the leading converged broadband and communication companies with operations in 7 European countries under consumer brands: Virgin Media, Telenet, UPC, and Vodafone Ziggo. The topics discussed today is important to us as a company, but also to me personally. I was one of the co-founders of the Untitled Europe chapter, and that's Women in Cable Technology, and I've been very engaged in this topic. The past year, we've seen a shift in the way we work, and the pandemic has accelerated the changes already underway. And hopefully the future work will be more about balance, inclusion, and diversity. As mentioned earlier, this change is crucial as there's scientific evidence that diversity actually boosts innovation, productivity, and overall performance. And we agree, what is also mentioned before today, that in order to achieve diversity and inclusion in the tech company, for example, the support of a leadership is a must, and we cannot do this as just an HR issue, but we need to be supported across the company. At Liberty Global, we've recently created the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council. This initiative is led from the top of the company, and it looks at all aspects of diversity and inclusion, both within our company and towards our customers. And we try to incorporate this vision in everything we do. Over the past years, we've been launching several projects that work towards bridging the digital divide in gender, but also in race, age, lower income groups. And we try to reach all strands in our ecosystem. It's important to address the fundamental digital skills gap that is prohibiting certain minorities from entering the tech space, and not just women, but also, for example, the elderly. At our Operation Vodafone Ziggo, for example, we've launched an initiative where elderly users can connect with tech experts and allowing them to stay connected in these isolating times during the pandemic.